Welcome to Sync Up, a show about OneDrive, the intelligent files app for Microsoft 365. We are your hosts, Ankita Kirti and Jason Moore. I'm Ankita Kirti, Product Manager on the OneDrive team.
And I'm Jason Moore, Director of Program Management for OneDrive. This show will take you behind the scenes of OneDrive, shedding light on how OneDrive connects you to all of your files in Microsoft 365, so you can share and work together from anywhere while protecting our work from accidental loss and malicious attacks.
Today, we are excited to have on the show Ryan Hoge to talk about Ignite announcements.
Don't go away. We've got another great show for you today.
The OneDrive team continues to work hard to empower people at every level of the organization to be able to view, access, and find their files from anywhere, share and collaborate with confidence, as well as keep their content backed up and protected, engaging in a consistent and compliant productivity experience across Microsoft 365. Today at Microsoft Ignite, we commemorate product innovations and our team's accomplishments as we unveil the latest and greatest for OneDrive, the intelligent files app for Microsoft 365. Besides being excited to announce new capabilities for OneDrive, we are also extremely grateful for all your support, feedback, and partnership in the journey to digital transformation.
Our guest today is Ryan Hoge. Ryan is the principal GPM for OneDrive, and he leads our mobile and collaboration teams. Prior to OneDrive, Ryan actually came to Microsoft via the Folder Share acquisition, which many of you listening may remember using that product. I certainly loved it.
Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Jason mentioned you joined Microsoft from Folder Share. Could you tell our listeners something more about that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually 15 years ago in October that Microsoft bought a small company I was a part of called Folder Share. We were located in Austin, Texas. And for those that maybe were or weren't in the tech industry back then, you got to remember this was early days, pre-iPhone, pre-Android, pre-AWS, pre-Azure.
Pre-OneDrive.
And we had built a product that was a combination really lightweight client for Macs and PCs, and a web service that enabled people to synchronize folders of content across different devices and even share them with other people. So this was real early days in the file sync and share space. We had our own data center that we managed, our own servers that we would rack and scale out ourselves. Microsoft, discovered us. And, the five of us all moved up to Redmond, and the rest is history. But it's pretty funny. Once we got here, we actually started working on some different initiatives at the company. And then really early into my tenure, we, in typical Microsoft fashion, had some major reorgs and had new executives taking on accountability in certain areas. And then about 9 months into that, I met up with Jason Moore, and we actually started working on the first version of what became OneDrive, where some of my other colleagues actually went and worked on another product that some of you might be familiar with called Live Mesh. That was being built out of another part of the company. And then in 2011, we actually brought all these things together and kind of unified it on one product stack that we could offer to our customers.
Wow, you guys go back so long. Wow, I didn't know about that. That's great. So like Jason, it sounds like you've been thinking about files and folders in the cloud for a very long time. And we are really excited to have you on this show. Today, the whole agenda is to recap some of the big features that we are talking about at Ignite. Let's start with some of the new work that is coming to mobile. Can you tell us something about OneDrive Home that we recently announced about?
Yeah, we're actually really excited about this feature that we're calling OneDrive Home. We're initially releasing it on iOS. It's available now. We're showcasing it at Ignite. Kind of if you look at the history of where this feature came from, we saw an opportunity to make it easier for our customers to pick up where they left off while they're on the go with the mobile app, instead of just dumping them into their root view of their files and folders. So we looked at several areas of the app that we saw frequent usage, and we brought them to one common starting place. So now it's super easy to get to all your recent and offline files and folders, along with frequently accessed shared libraries. And then for our consumer users, we've even brought photo features like On This Day, where you see photo memories right to the top of the Home tab as well.
Yeah, you've heard this from me a lot. I love OneDrive Home. I'm using it all the time, pretty much every day. And I'm finding I'm just much more efficient with how I leverage that on my phone. I actually had a question for you, Ryan, because I always thought this was an interesting conversation we've had. I'm accessing files faster. I feel like I'm actually spending less minutes in the app because it's so much easier and so much quicker to get things done. Do you ever worry that, we're going to have people spending less time in the app?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. This topic came up when we were doing the planning here, but then we also kind of rallied around this notion of, one of the key purposes of this home experience is to help people find what they're looking for faster and to be able to get in and out. So, time spent wasn't really a key thing that we were optimizing for. One fun nugget I wanted to share with the listeners here is while we were in testing phases of this feature, we actually found the opposite. People that were exposed to the home treatment ended up using the app more frequently, and they came back more often. All green for us. So we were very excited to see that.
Okay, so I love that. But since we're on that topic, and one of the things I love about Home is that it exposes the files you've taken offline in the app. One of the big features we're talking about at Ignite is the fact that we're going to enable the ability to edit your Office documents offline on your mobile device for the first time. We've talked about this feature internally for years, but why now? What's the plan for that, and how are we actually making that work?
Yeah, this one has been at the top of the feature request list, as you said, for years. And it's always been this daunting task, like, how are we going to pull this off? There's all these limitations on iOS where apps can't communicate to one another. And we've had a relatively limited experience around what you can do while offline with files in the OneDrive app. So we've supported the ability to mark up and edit PDFs, and we've had that for years, and people have liked that. But the obvious question is, hey, I've got all these Word, PowerPoint, and Excel documents that I've marked for offline. I want to be able to edit those too, not just read only. So about a year ago, we started working more closely with the Office Mobile team. They had an idea to come up with an implementation that we basically have a shared container on iOS that is restricted just to our apps, and we can pass content files and other metadata and other information back and forth around the files to enable a seamless handoff so that you can do editing. When you're back online, we get signal that the file has changed. And you can pick up the latest version of the file. The file's getting uploaded instead of handing it off in a read-only mode. So it took kind of coming up with this architecture around a shared container that would work on iOS to support this scenario. And so now the next time you're on a flight and you've got that folder of Office files that you want to work on and edit that PowerPoint slide, you'll be able to do so when business travel returns in earnest.
That's awesome. I love to travel, so I can't wait for that. But I do love that feature. And you mentioned the PDF work. That recently kind of got an exciting bump or refresh as well with all the work that we did for the new Surface Duo. I have been loving my Duo. I have it right here. I guess our listeners can't see it and enjoy playing with it. But I thought it might be interesting if you could do a quick kind of, share on the journey that we went on for bringing OneDrive to the Duo and really making sure that it was mated well to that hardware and ethos.
Yeah, Surface Duo is a really fantastic device. I think it opens up a world of possibilities with what you can do with two screens, while you're on the go. A lot of us are really familiar with having multiple displays while we're sitting at our desks and haven't really been able to embrace the concept or realize what it's like to have this, while you're sitting on the couch or you're on the train or you're by the pool. So we started working with the Surface team last year, got brought into this project, got briefed on the capabilities, and then quickly learned and identified, some unique differentiation that we could bring to our customers that take advantage of the unique nature of the dual screens and some of the other properties that are really hallmarks of the Surface Duo device. And so for those that are lucky enough to own a Surface Duo or have used it, what you'll find is we've got support for different views where we can span the screen. We can do what we call master detail, which is where you're maybe looking at a list of content on say the left side, and then you've got a preview of the document on the right side. We support spanning PDFs across multiple pages, so you can have page 1, page 2, and we support inking. Obviously, we have a great inking experience that works great on this device with the Surface Pen, and then we support drag and drop. This is another great scenario, so that if you've got content that you want to drop into an email message, simply select it in the OneDrive app and drag it right over, and it's inserted, and you can send that message off. I think we've got one of the better app experiences on this device. I think it really embraces all the capabilities that the device brings to users. And in fact, actually earlier today, we had a great meeting with Panos Panay and his leadership team to talk about some of our plans for Surface Duo moving forward. And we're really excited to keep innovating on this platform.
It's amazing to know. Well, I really like Surface Duo and all the work our team has done for the same. And it was really humbling seeing all the reactions that we got on social regarding the OneDrive integration with Surface Duo. So great. And I'm so excited to see what more your team comes up with. Moving on, one of my favorite features that I wanted to get into a little deep here at Ignite is Add to OneDrive. It's an amazing feature. It's coming on mobile as well, along with web and desktop. And just like with OneDrive Home making me more efficient, it's so much easier for me to keep track of all the shared content out there that I'm working on, like the script for the show. So we talked with Olga a while back about the feature, but can you share a little more about how Add to OneDrive looks to the future?
Yeah, I mean, really, again, this is all around simplifying kind of the user journey and the user path with accessing and organizing the content that matters to them. So there has been this existing hurdle where if somebody has shared content with you directly, or maybe it's in a shared library, you have to jump through multiple steps to go get access to that. Maybe you go to the shared pivot, or oftentimes a lot of people can't even remember, where it was, and they refer back to the link. Maybe the link was sent to them in an email or a Teams message. Now with Add to OneDrive, you're able to, at the time that you're looking at it, with one click, be able to say, add this to my OneDrive, and it shows up just in your normal root view, so that when you go look at My Files, there's a little indicator on the folder icon to note that that's a shared item that you've added to your OneDrive. And so then that way, there's no more hunting around trying to find that old email, trying to navigate the shared view or go to the library and find that exact document or folder that you were looking for. And we think that, again, this goes back to the point of just simplifying the time it takes somebody to get to the content that they care about, that they're trying to access. And we're really excited to bring this out to customers.
I love Add to OneDrive. I've been really excited that we're able to talk about it. But I think it's important to kind of recognize that we have really kind of different constituencies of people that use OneDrive. And one of the most important groups, certainly near and dear to my heart, are admins, administrators, people who are, their job it is, probably many of you listening, to go and make sure that you're doing a great job deploying and managing and getting the most out of OneDrive for your organization. I thought it might be interesting if you could just do a bit of a detour into some of the new capabilities that we're talking about at Ignite for administrators.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. There's actually, a couple different areas here where we're announcing some new capabilities for admins, and I love admins too. And the way I think about what we're building for admins is we want to make them look like heroes to their colleagues at their companies. Be able to bring the best tools, the best support, the best capabilities to allow their folks to be productive and get work done, while also having the purview and ability to be in control of how the company's information is being managed and shared. The two things that I wanted to talk about are, the first one is around sync admin reports. So this was one of the top asks that we've heard of. The way to think about this one is we want to empower admins with confidence to know exactly what's going on with OneDrive Sync across all the devices in your organization, and to help you all take actions on the insights that we surface there. Our vision really around the Sync admin reports is to provide these actionable insights to simplify your IT workflow. We think this spans small business to larger enterprise. The Sync admin reports will be the single place to get these insights on both client adoption as well as health and status of those different devices.
And in fact, I think at the Ignite talk that we have around this for deployment and adoption, we'll go through in detail exactly the kinds of insights you could generate from that. So if you're listening to this right now and you haven't watched that session, definitely get it as soon as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the second thing that we're announcing is Admin Center consolidation, so that admins can go to one place. They can go to the SharePoint Admin Center and see a consolidated view of all of the sharing reports, the sync reports, all in one place, so they don't have to jump from one dashboard to another.
I guess that is very valuable. I've seen, we've spoken about it to admins before and they've loved it. So I'm really hoping to see when they start playing with it, what are their feedback and reactions. So shifting gears and moving back to some end user conversations. As a part of your role, Ryan, you are responsible for file collaboration and sharing capabilities in both OneDrive and SharePoint. And I know it's not an Ignite without some awesome new updates and pleasant refinements in this space. One of the features that really stands out for me in the end user conversations is move and keep sharing. How does that work?
Yeah, no, this feature is actually super cool, and I've got to use it myself a bunch internally as we've been building it, at Microsoft. So we know that many customers will work on files with a small audience while they're collaborating, kind of building out the material, and they'll maybe share that typically out of their own OneDrive before they graduate the file or move it to a shared library for broader publishing once that document is marked final. And we've heard a lot of feedback that this flow was pretty bumpy. Is those early collaborators would lose access once it moves, and then they're looking at a stale version of the doc, or maybe it's disappeared completely. So now OneDrive's making this flow seamless by giving folks the option to move their files and keep sharing. So users that had access at the original location will get new links and permissions that match whatever they used to have. And it's a great way to save time and keep the workflow moving ahead.
So move and keep sharing is definitely about helping you continue to be in this collaboration mode and make it seamless as you transition from different states that we all know collaboration goes through. I thought it might be interesting if we could also talk a little bit about some of the improvements that we're doing in Teams around file sharing. Since I'm using that day in, day out, I know we've seen incredible growth there with Teams. I thought it might be interesting if you could share some of the ways that we're bringing those improvements where we bring OneDrive and Teams closer and closer together than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. We know that millions of people are using Teams every single day to send OneDrive links, SharePoint links to team members, both in chats, in private chats, and in channels. And we know that sometimes you might copy a link from one chat to another, grab a link you saw in a slide, drop it into a channel. And sometimes that link might not work for everyone you just sent it to, or maybe it gives view-only access when you actually wanted people to be able to edit it. So we're excited to roll out a new capability to this experience where whenever you paste links into chat or channels, you'll see the link transform into what we call a file chiclet, which shows you the file name, but also shows you who the link will work for and what permissions it gives. We've even updated Teams so that it will warn you when you're about to send a link that won't work for the people you're trying to send it to. And if you want to or need to change the link settings, you can do it right in the same experience that it exists across other Microsoft 365 apps that you're very familiar with.
Right. So it's using the same sharing experience that I get in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneDrive, SharePoint. So if I want to say, oh, I need to turn on expiration for this link, or I need to do something else, I'm able to do that right there inside of Teams, right from that interface.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to relearn how to do it. It should be familiar. It should look the same. It should have the same capabilities.
That's awesome.
And we also get the advantage that you can keep it secure and just share with people within that chat. That's the added advantage to sharing within Teams. So, yep, that's great. So one last final questions and moving it back to the admin audience. Can you tell us a little more about the new expiring access for external users capability?
Of course. Expiring external access has been one of the most requested features from our IT admins. We're excited to say that this is rolling out now. Woo. Expiring access is all about helping set your users up for success by ensuring that guest access doesn't last indefinitely. What this really means is end users can still share, be productive, and now the site admins get a notification to renew each guest access. So guests who aren't renewed will expire and lose access to all of your org's content. It's a really great feature to help round out the guest collaboration lifecycle.
Yeah, that's a really awesome kind of feature and capability. And I know, for those of you who've been working on how you roll out or leverage external access, being able to share outside of your organization is often absolutely critical to the running of your business. This can give you a lot more peace of mind that, make sure that things aren't there any longer than they need to be, and you have control where they go away the moment that the business need or the value to the organization goes away. It's not something you can get with an email attachment or with sending something, to someone through another service. It really comes from that integration, from being able to expire that link right at the source. So that's pretty cool. And you can let your users make good decisions about that too. I think that's all the time we have for you today, Ryan. Ankita, anything else?
I would just like to add that our listeners, they can refer to aka.ms/OneDrive/Ignite2020/blog to read about all these great features that we just discussed. And we'll have this link in the show notes.
Awesome. Well, we always do one last thing with our guests. We always like to ask them a question, do something fun with them, kind of, explore a little bit more of their human side as we do this. This time around, the question I was really hoping that we would talk about, because I know a little bit about you, Ryan. We've worked together for a little bit of time now. I thought it might be fun for us to share something that we're passionate about collecting.
Okay.
Ankita, I'll actually ask you to go first this time.
So I like to travel. And so I have collected a postcard from every city that I've been to. And I have a corkscrew board in my office. And all those postcards are right here. And I'll share a picture with you guys after the podcast.
That's awesome. That you really get a postcard from every single one of them. That's such a cool idea.
Yeah, that's a souvenir that, irrespective, I take something like an actual souvenir or not, I always take a postcard from a city that I've been to.
That's a really clever tip. Okay, Ryan, I know that we're going to get something good out of this. Tell us a little bit about something you're passionate collecting.
Yeah, no, this is great, right up my alley. So, as a kid that grew up in the late '80s, early '90s, back when baseball cards were all the rage, I was really into it when I was in middle school, and like got obsessed for a good 3 or 4 years of my life. And then life happened, and I moved on. And I rediscovered the collectible sports card hobby about 8 years ago, and have gotten sucked back in. And it's a lot of fun. I think now that I'm a grown up and I can afford to buy some of the things I couldn't afford to buy when I was a kid, and there's that element of nostalgia that's kind of fun to relive. I've gotten really back into it. And so I've got a pretty extensive collection of baseball, basketball cards, autographs, things like that. And it's a lot of fun.
Okay, I gotta ask then. I'm sure there's one card that's been the most valuable, but what's your favorite card? What's the most important card in your mind?
Oh, my most important one. It might not be my most valuable. One that I acquired recently in the last couple of years that I really love is I was able to buy a 1952 Topps Willie Mays, not quite his rookie card, but it's his first Topps card. And there's a really interesting backstory on where this card came from. It was these two brothers that are in their 70s that recently had rediscovered their collection that their mom still kept from when they collected from 1948 to 52. And these cards were in near pristine condition. And they sent them off to get authenticated by one of the major sports card grading companies. And then they were in an auction. And I was able to purchase this one, and I won the auction. And just knowing the history I know where this card came from, the kids that pulled it out of a bubblegum pack back in 1952, and it still looks the same. The gloss on the card is perfect, and it's just a really iconic card of an iconic player. So that's a special one in my collection.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Okay, see, that's one of the things I love is about the things people are passionate about, and that they've got the stories that they collect with them. I don't have anything near as good as either of you on that. I'm not. I'm totally going to start doing the postcard thing because that's brilliant. And I've never really. I didn't grow up into baseball, but I could see how I totally get in that because I'm also as I'm thinking about this thing, I'm a little bit of a pack rat on things. But for me, something that I have collected for 25 years now, and this will sound a little bit weird when I go back that far, is VR systems, like virtual reality systems. Whether it was the Nintendo Virtual Boy, there was one, I think it was called the Cyber FX VR1, which I had, and I had the development kit for. I kickstarted the original Oculus development kit. I still have that. I've had Vive. I've had Samsung Gear. I've had all sorts of knockoff brands across those, and I just love everything to do with VR. I think it's such a cool and exciting concept in space. So I've collected many VR systems, and I just find those to be really neat and kind of see how they've evolved over time as we kind of head towards that crazy, wacky future of Ready Player One or what have you.
Jason, I thought you were going to say you collect interesting quotes from meetings and interactions.
I am a bit of a pack rat, and what Ryan's talking about is I do collect hilarious quotes from people that I think are just brilliant or insightful or funny, and I try to learn from all of those. I also, and this is maybe the most esoteric one, I collect tongue twisters in foreign languages. You might think about, Sally sells seashells by the seashore, and that's kind of a fun one in English. Well, every language has tongue twisters, and so when I meet someone who speaks a different language, I like to collect a tongue twister from them, and I do that by having them do it for me. I get them to spell it out like phonetically, to write it out in the native language, and to write the English translation of it. And then if at all possible, I get them to record an actual clip of it. And so I am collecting tongue twisters across languages. And it's fascinating. If you see me at a conference in the future, feel free to share with me your particular clever tongue twister from whatever languages you know, because I'm definitely going to be interested in learning all about it. So that's 3 things I collect, which, yes, I'm a pack rat, and I guess we've just proven that. Lastly, for our audience, Ryan, how can people find and learn more about you?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about the latest and greatest happening in OneDrive SharePoint land, or what's going on with the sports collectibles industry, I tweet about both, and you can find me at RHOGE. I'm also on LinkedIn with the same handle.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on Sync Up.
Thanks a lot, Ryan, for joining us for this episode of Sync Up.
Thanks a lot for having me. It was fun.
It's great to have you.
It's time to share with the listeners the latest feature releases. Last month, we released mute comment notifications. Now, when you share and collaborate with folks over files, you have the option to turn off notification for individual files. We are also rolling out tasks in Word and Excel. So now across Word and Excel, tasks will help you assign responsibilities to your peers, which can be resolved once the job is complete. In addition to assigning the task, you can also reassign it and track any changes made to the task within the comment thread via the inline history. And finally, we announced the OneDrive app for Surface Duo. The OneDrive app is a critical component of Surface Duo and is fully integrated into the Surface Duo operating system to ensure you stay connected to your files and photos and enable you with on-the-go collaboration while making the most of the dual screen and spanning capabilities. We'll add the links to Surface Duo and our blog post in the show notes. For more information on all these features, do check out our blog at aka.ms/OneDrive/blog. So that was a roadmap for this month. I'll hand it over to Jason to tell us about Ignite.
We've got a great set of talks this Ignite, and I want to make sure that every one of you doesn't miss out. Start with our What's New and Coming to OneDrive talk with myself and the amazing Ankita Kirti giving you an overview of where we are and where we're going with OneDrive. Next up, you can dive into external sharing and collaboration with OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams, hosted by Rafael Lopez Uricochea and Stephen Rice. Rafael and Stephen cover the breadth of rich collab capabilities you get with OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams, both inside and outside your organization. They also cover some of the latest best practices to get the most out of Microsoft 365. You turn right from there into deployment and configuration of OneDrive Sync with Gaia Carini, who leads our Sync team, and Carter Green. This section helps you understand all the capabilities in managing and deploying our OneDrive Sync client and how you can achieve an ideal state for every user while increasing your own peace of mind. And finally, sit down for driving OneDrive adoption with the remote workforce with Randy Wong and Lauren Koo. They'll cover the best ways to connect employees, tips and tricks for getting the most out of OneDrive while working remotely, and training materials that help you deliver effective and useful learning for everyone in your organization. Ankita, where can everyone find links to these?
Yes, that's a very important question. The OneDrive team is really looking forward to engaging with all of you, and you can find all these details in our blog. The main Ignite blog is ak.ms/OneDrive/Ignite2020/blog. And to check out a rundown of the sessions, we have also published a guide for Microsoft OneDrive at Ignite 2020. The link to that is ak.ms/OneDrive/Ignite2020/guide. We'll add both these links in the show notes for your reference. So now I'll hand it back to Jason for the special topic of this month. Jason, what do you have for us?
With September as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, we wanted to use this time to bring awareness to all of our listeners. It's important to be able to reflect on how we're each doing mentally and emotionally while recognizing that many of us are working remotely. That doesn't mean we're on our own. At Microsoft, we provide a number of programs for our employees to make sure that they get assistance to listen and lend a hand. And for each of us, practicing inclusion aligns well here. It starts with the empathy and awareness of those around us, looking for signs and indicators of risk. You can learn more about indicators of risk and more at the links we'll share in the show notes, including the 5 steps from the National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention, as well as how you can help refer someone in need with the Suicide Prevention Lifeline in the United States and the International Association of Suicide Prevention Crisis Centers abroad. Thanks for taking a moment to reflect on Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And please don't forget, your well-being isn't extra, it's essential. We care about every listener and everyone in their lives. Thanks.
Thank you to our guest, Ryan Hoge. To learn more about OneDrive and the latest developments, please follow our tech community blog at ak.ms/OneDrive/blog.
And please do send us your questions and feedback. You can reach us on Twitter at OneDrive, at Jasmo, and at Ankita_Kirti21. And definitely visit our show page for links, resources, and more at aka.ms/syncup. That's SYNCUP. Subscribe to and follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoy SyncUp, tell others what you've learned from the show, whether it's handy gardening tips for those fall veggies or how to move petabytes of data in a jiff. Word of mouth is still the best way people learn about new podcasts and new information. And if you're curious about other cool shows from Microsoft, go to aka.ms/Microsoft/podcasts. There's something for everyone.
Thank you for listening to Sync Up, a show about OneDrive, the intelligent files app for Microsoft 365. We are your hosts, Ankita Kirti and Jason Moore. We'll catch up with you next month.
Woo!